All right, and here we have the final member of the Terracons. Here's Cutthroat. He is a green and purple and kind of bony, creamy, whitish yellow color. Here, he comes with his Combiner Wars Prime Power chest armor thingamajigger that can hold a Prime Master or a Matrix or an Enigma combination there. You pop it off, hand, heal, whatever piece. Perfect Effect has announced an add-on kit of hands and feet and guns for him that may be worth getting. Here's his card. We're going to we have Liege Maximo Cutthroat, who convinces enemies to tear out their own circuits. Interesting power. Very eloquent. And he's a bird. Now, he does also have this little pistol here. He has a 5mm port on one side, a smaller peg on the other that can peg into either side of his wing here. That's a great place to store it. There's a port here on his front, but that doesn't really fit this thing, so whatever. He's got a little extra tail here that does help keep his legs together if you're using him as an arm, and I generally do. So that's one advantage he has over Swoop, because Swoop's legs like to come loose, because he is just a heavy remold of Swoop, as you may be able to tell. He has a couple ports here for a little Prime Master or Titan Master to ride on his bird mode. His legs can swivel forward, have a little hinge here, the tail's on a hinge, the wings can rotate up and down here, clip up and down here, rotate here at this hinge, as well as this outer hinge. So you got a pretty dynamic way of setting the wings. If you want to have them look straight up like that, you want to have them straight out to the side, however you want to do it. His little head crest can go up and down. His mouth can open. He does have a separate mouth. And his head can kind of look up and down, and his robot head kind of hides inside there. Now, I've heard, I don't seem to have nearly the issues that several people have had with his bird mode head popping off. Now, it is just friction pegged onto this purple piece, and I saw somebody talking that, somebody mentioning that maybe it was that these pegs on this purple piece weren't long enough to really hold his head on. And that may be the case. They seem to be doing the job. Like I said, mine's pretty solidly on there. It's not coming off just by looking at it, like several people have complained about. However, the design of the head, as you can see, it's kind of a bird head, and it's just kind of an angled shell. So it doesn't take a whole lot of force really to cause these open ends to pry off. So like you can remove it without too much force. You can snap it back on without too much effort as well. But a lot of I don't know that it's necessarily that these pins are too short so much as that it just the design of the head allows for a little bit more leeway on these outer edges that causes it to come off from the pen. Now, like I said, I can hold it here, not pinching those pegs together, and you can see I'm swinging it, and he's not pretty vigorously, and he's not coming off. It has popped off on me during transformation. You kind of want to make sure you're supporting it, pushing on the head up here, but supporting the hinge down here to make it move a little smoother. But and when you're going up, you want to, again, support more of the see there, I just popped it off, because when you lift up, you're pulling up on one of those edges. It's easy to do, but it's not, that's because, that was my fault, because I was putting them in the wrong place, and I just spread, because like I said, this part is very pliable just due to the angles and, physics there. But it does mine doesn't fall off easily. It can come off. It doesn't take a whole lot of effort to make it pop off if you're trying to, or even accidentally. But it's not quite as egregious as I've heard other people have had issues with on theirs. So just something to look out for. There's no way to tell how, unless it's rattling around in the package. I don't know of any way to really tell how it's going to be in package. It's just kind of luck of the draw on that. I got lucky on mine. I got less lucky on my Studio Series Jazz pegging together, but oh well. So to transform him, here he is in his bird mode. I'll go ahead and take his gun off here. And again, he's pretty much exactly like Swoop, except for this tailpiece. We're going to flip this tailpiece up, fold his legs down, actually kind of fold them up and forward and back. We'll give you the clearance so they're not sticking down past his heels. Maybe even angle them back a little bit. You can kind of use them as extra heel pieces back here. And then his legs split apart and rotate down on the outside. Oh, there we go. Slide that up and lock it into place up here, into these slots. His arms untab from the waist. You flip out his wrists. Rotate his arms up here at the bicep swivel. The wings, again, you can kind of position however you want, however they look cool to you in robot mode. And then this piece, you bring the head, again, you want to kind of support, not the whole hinge. You can bring the whole head hinge down for like arm or leg mode, but support it right here at this pin. You should be okay. Going down is less stressful because you're not pulling on these edges, but bring the bird head down and pop it into place on his chest. And of course, you can leave this crest out, but you just fold that up into his chest like that. And there is Cutthroat in robot mode. And he can hold his gun. And like I said, if you have swoop, you know what you're getting. He's got a swivel at the head. It may be on a ball joint, but his head is so square that you can't really get any appreciable up and down movement out of it. But it can swivel side to side. Ball joint at the shoulder. Bicep swivel. Hinge elbows. No wrist swivel aside from in. Still has a waist swivel. Ball joint hips. Thigh swivel. Hinge knees. Again, pretty standard for the Power of the Primes Deluxes. Nice coloring. I really kind of I love the color layouts on him. And a cool looking bird robot. And as promised, this being the final video, we will go to Abominus here. I've got everything mostly transformed into limb modes. He transforms into a limb mode exactly the same as Swoop. We're going to use him as an arm. So we'll take care of that, and then we'll come back and we'll throw Abominus together. All right, and here we go. Here is Blot in his leg mode. Again, you collapse the legs unlike any other mode. His arm mode is mostly the same as anybody else. His claws have little tabs that slot in on either side of his body, and you can leave the gun attached to this little hinge thing here if you wish. You can flip it up here if you want to, but however you want. I think it looks better down. It kind of helps fill in some of this empty space here on the lower leg. Got his hand attached to the heel here. And we'll just go ahead and plug him into a foot. Center twin. Very much like Snarl, except you fold his heads down. Now, the official instructions show his head's just left upside down like this. I don't like that. I mean, I guess you could just fold them down like that, and then you've got these big hollow spaces here. I like to rotate his heads around. So it looks like he's kind of got some heads looking out for himself on his shin, but it's entirely up to you. It probably does look a little better if you have them folded down simply from a depth. If you don't want his head sticking way out in front of his robot mode, but it's up to you. And again, his heel piece plugged in to the foot. And we'll just go ahead and attach him on here like this. Actually, I think I am going to fold this down. Why not? Even though it does make him look a little plain. So we've got our legs. Here's Hunger in his torso mode configuration. And we'll just go ahead and slot those in right here. Like this. Now, officially, I think they have, the instructions have Cutthroat down here and Blot up as an arm. This is the way I like to do it. I just think Cutthroat makes a better arm, the wings look more dynamic up there, and Blot makes a better leg. So we'll go ahead and lighten that up. Ripper Snapper we've already seen, so we'll go ahead and flip this port down and attach him up here. Go ahead and flip this port down. Bring it back. And then we'll take Cutthroat here. Again, transforms exactly like Swoop, although this extra peg on the tail does help hold his forearm together a little better. I actually found out that port does hold that little... I thought I tried that, and it fell right out, but that little port on his chest does, in fact, take the tiny port on his gun. So you can store that right there along his arm. And we'll go ahead and attach him right there. And there, all together, is Power of the Primes Abominus. He's pretty cool. Like I said, a combiner I had briefly in college. Never really had the whole thing growing up. Was never one of my, I must have this favorites. You know, I always preferred other combiners. But all told, maybe it's just because they have done, because of the work they've already done, putting some combiners together, that this works. But I really think he's my favorite of the combiners we've gotten in the last few years. Now, I like the Dinobots. I think they're great as a set and as a team. I don't know if they're necessarily the best combiner, because they were never really intended to be. Abominus looks great. Glad to have them all. I don't know why this keeps not locking on me here. But yeah, good looking set. Nice combiner. And there is Abominus from Power of the Primes.